Okay, next. Seek divine financial planning. Now let's look at verse 18, chapter 8, and we've already read this, but I'm just going to show it to you again. Riches and honor are with me, enduring riches and righteousness. So in America, and maybe in Korea, and maybe in Japan, and maybe in Canada, most people hire a financial planner. If they have any money, they get someone that's an expert to help them plan how to not pay too much taxes and how to invest their money. God says, I can do that. Verse 18, riches and honor are with me if you follow what I tell you. Enduring riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold. Now back to real life. I grew up in a Christian home. Even though my parents didn't get along and they fought and everything, they really sought to follow the Lord. And by the way, my dad ended up being my very dearest friend. I could tell so many stories about it. But one thing I certainly remember is my parents honored the Lord with their money. And my mother had a little shelf in our house growing up, and she had her teacups. You know, women like teacups that are pretty and delicate, and she had them in the top. And in one of the teacups, my mother had a $20 bill. Now, I'm talking about in the 1960s, like 60 years ago. Do you know how much money $20 was? $20 was a huge amount of money back then. My father only earned like $100 a week. And so it was 1/5 of a week's pay. And she had that $20 bill up there, and all of us kids knew what it was. At church, by the way, I lived in a house so small, there were 2 bedrooms. My mom and dad were in one, and all 3 of us kids were in the other one. And the kids were in drawers that went like this, that pulled out. My dad had built them. There was one, and then another one pulled out, and another one pulled out. And I was in the bottom drawer. My sister was in the next drawer, and my other sister was in the top drawer. And I was so bad that sometimes both of my sisters would push me down and push me in my bed drawer and lock it. And I would be stuck in there with like this, you know, and because I was so bad. So I was abused always through life because I was so bad. But we would be in our little drawers. My parents would sit at church when missionaries spoke and would listen to them. And the missionary would say, and it was wonderful being at this church. And then the pastor would say, would anybody like the missionary to stay at their house? And all of us kids would go, because we knew who would be first to volunteer. Who would always take the missionaries? My parents. And so my sister would be in her bunk or her drawer. My other sister would be in her drawer. I would have to sleep on the floor because the missionary would be in my drawer. My parents always volunteered to take the missionary. And nobody had as small a house as us that I knew of. And you know what else my mother would do? As soon as the missionary got up for breakfast, I would see her walking over to her little shelf, and she would go up and get out of her little teacup her $20 bill. And us kids learned that our parents, they believed in divine financial planning. Do you know what the Lord said? He said, the gift is measured by Him by how much it costs you. Growing up, it was very hard in our little house with such tiny facilities to host someone. We should have not taken missionaries. We should have said, my parents should have said, we don't have room. We have 3 children in one room. We don't have room for a missionary. But they did, because they believed that, and the Lord blessed them. And Bonnie and I can testify the Lord blesses sacrifice.